Yeah.
Tina, could you repeat that, please?
Oh, Radha Krishna Sita Ram Mehera-Meher. Why do people place your name before the Lord's? The Creator worships his creation with absolute devotion.
Mhm.
So through the ages, your name is sung before his.
Yeah.
From Bal Kalchuri's Song for Mehra, 1972,
Yeah.
as explained by Meher Baba.
Oh, you want all that. Okay. All right. So we're going to go back down to where we were.
Must have had fun choosing titles for all those chapters. I wonder how many chapters altogether. Something like 100, right? 3 volumes.
Um, so who wants to read this?
I will. One morning at Upper Mehrabad in the kitchen, I was standing in the corner near Baba. I had given him something. I looked at him to see what he was doing. I saw him eating so quietly. Baba looked so dear and beautiful to me. His smooth cheeks looked so lovely after shaving, so smooth and silky. I came near. I didn't know how to embrace him. I felt so much love that I put my cheek on Baba's cheek and pressed my cheek against his for quite a few seconds. Baba just sat there. I looked up in his eyes. He looked straight at me with such a tender, loving look in his eyes. There was a very sweet and tender expression in his eyes. It was very beautiful. Sometimes when you felt that way, you wanted to kiss and embrace Baba. I still remember that. It has remained in my mind all this time. Now, that was Mara saying that.
That's true love. True love.
Do you want to read this preface or should we skip it?
Yeah,
Let's
sure.
read.
This book, a biography of Mara J. Irani, the foremost woman disciple of the avatar, Meher Baba, is comprised primarily of tape recordings at Mirzad, beginning in 1974. About 250 hours of recordings were made by the author over a 7-year period. Others closely connected with Mera were also interviewed. In addition, various diaries, letters, and unpublished accounts were made available to the author. The full story of Mera's beloved is told in Lord Meher, Meher Baba's biography about Kalchuri. While Lord Meher was being edited, it became apparent that many aspects of Mera's life could not be included, owing to restrictions of space in already multi-volume work, as well as the intimate nature of some of the material. Mehera-Meher was therefore as a companion account to the above biography, focusing primarily on material not already included in Lord Meher. Grateful thanks are due to Julia Ross of Oklahoma for smoothing the rough, awkward edges of this narrative, rearranging some of it and adding historical material about World War II. Steve Klein fine-tuned the editing, and Peter Booth of Mehrabad contributed as well. Mera's niece, Meru, one of Meher Baba's women, Mandali, spent 2 years reading the manuscript and made many valuable corrections, assisted by Janet Judson. Also helped in assembling photographs for the book. For the first edition, Eric Nadel, or Nadel, and Hugh MacDonald of Mehrabad, Diane Snow of Sufism Reorient, Sheila Krinsky of Shariar Foundation, and Doug Frank provided technical support relating to the photographs, as did my two quote unquote in-house wizards, Aman and Adim Fenster. Ed Legume, book designer par excellence of Atlanta, is responsible for the design, and Ann Giles, also of Atlanta, produced the index. Printing was arranged by MVRK Balaji of Hyderabad, India, along with other Mayor Maunavani publications. And that's by David Fenster, Meherabad, 3 September 2010.
I have to admit, he used to get on my nerves because he was always recording and it was just so technical. So it's such a contrast to being there with Mara. Yeah.
You want to read this part, Eugene?
Author's note. Mehera, addressed to Mehera, I believe. Mehera-Meher is your story, told mostly in your own words. May it inspire others, as it continues to inspire me to love and serve beloved Baba as only you could.
Oh, sorry.
Prayer will become, quote, Baba, let me love you as Mehera did. Let me have the courage to sacrifice all your need and dive without hesitation into the pool of your infinite compassion. End quote.
Thank you, Eugene. Okay. So many introductions and forwards and
Yeah, but it's good. I don't think I've ever read them.
you want to read this part, Rosalie?
Sure. Mehera-Meher will be read with great interest and appreciation by Baba lovers who want to know as much as they can about Avatar Meher Baba, in whose life Mehera played such a vital role. No writing can convey the beauty of the relationship between beloved Baba and Mehera that we witnessed in our life with them. Someone needs to mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I need to mute everybody. Let's see if I can do that.
That me.
Let's see. I don't see how to wait.
Well, who is that? Who is making that gurgling noise? They could just mute themselves.
I'm
There it is,
having
gone.
trouble figuring
It's
it out.
gone. It's fine. Okay. No writing can convey the beauty of the relationship between beloved Baba and Mehera that we witnessed in our life with them, nor the closeness that they had to one another. But the author of Mehera-Meher has, over the years, collected much information which, even when not dealing directly with Baba and Mehera, gives a wider perspective of the world Baba touched when he was among us. Some of the quotations the author has included from letters and diaries of those in the woman's ashram gave a fragrance of the atmosphere around Baba. Reading some of the explanations Baba gave brings so vividly to me from my childhood the picture of Baba seated amongst the ladies, the wide range of topics they touched on, things worldly and practical, spiritual, or just humorous. It was a special time to be with our Lord in an informal atmosphere. Mehera was seated somewhere near Baba and always attentive to his needs, while Mani was always alert to interpret what Baba wanted to say. As his slender finger flew with speed and grace over the alphabet board, All of us were united in our common focus, our one-pointed love for Baba and high regard and love for Mehera and Mani. Mehera, because she fulfilled that special role among us as Baba's beloved, and Mani as his sister. Mehera-Meher touches on the difficulties and controversies so many women of different temperaments and nationalities had to face living together in close proximity. Baba gave them ample opportunity to strive for the peace and harmony that he asked of them. In spite of the adverse circumstances, since this account is not based on personal experience, but on the observations of others, what I wish to emphasize is the full picture of the quality of life in the ashram. In spite of the whoops, mine disappeared.
I lost your.
Okay, there. In spite of the differences, there was the intimacy and oneness we felt as a family, with Baba as the central figure of our lives. He made each one feel his personal caring and interest in their daily affairs, and with a gesture or a word could turn something that was about to become too serious into something humorous and light, and immediately changed the atmosphere. Each one had come for Baba, and so whatever he said or did affected her deeply. How much more so was this the case with Mehera, whose love for him and attentiveness to him was so beautiful to witness, as was his love and caring for her. Everyone felt and knew how special Mehera was to Baba and how unbounded was his love for her. Human as Mehera was, with all the natural imperfections of human nature, her love for Baba was such that it shone ever brightly throughout her life, true and clear, undimmed by any events or experiences that Baba put her through. The greatest trial she underwent was after Baba dropped his body. And even then, in the midst of her suffering and sorrow, she tried to please and obey him. The most difficult order was to try to be happy at such a time. But the effort she made in her childlike way was what helped her come out of that dark period and play the role she so beautifully did for her beloved. The wide collection of photos that the author has included enrich the book with the visual presence of Baba and Mehera and bring to life the quality of their relationship in a way words could never do. Hearing Mehera speak of her life with Baba to pilgrims over the years, the author was so touched by her love for Baba that he was prompted to write what he could of her story, using what he had heard directly from her and what he had gathered from others' recounting of events. I'm sure the result of his many years of sincere effort will be welcomed by the Baba world. That's Meru talking, yeah. Mehera, April 1999. Wow.
Thank you, Rosalie. Let's see. Wow.
Yeah, I can continue on here.
Okay, read another page.
Introduction, May 1989. Mehera's body is lying in state at Mehera inside Mandali Hall before being taken on its final journey to Meherabad. My wife, Sheila, keeps fidgeting, looking from side to side around the hall. She leans over and whispers conspiratorially to her brother. He nods in agreement. I wonder what's going on. Later, Sheila, who had grown up in Meher Baba's physical proximity, explained. Baba was there, she stated, in Mandali Hall. We felt his presence. And then it hit me. I had felt it too, of course. A surcharged atmosphere in the hall that night. But this is how I always felt in Mehera's presence. Every time I sat on Mehera's porch, the feeling was the same, a joy, a happiness in my heart to be in her presence. I had assumed that it was Mehera who was responsible for it. Now I realized it was Meher Baba's actual presence I had been feeling all those years, emanating not from her, but from him. And I was consoled. I now knew. I never met Meher Baba, but I had been in his presence. I had felt his presence. Whenever anyone expressed loving sentiments toward her, Mehera always asserted, Baba, it is your love that is coming through. I now understood what she meant. Nevertheless, Mehera's love itself was an inspiration. She was absorbed in Baba, totally, as if Baba were actually with her physically. It was inspiring to watch her devotion, try to emulate it, and aspire towards acquiring some tiny portion of it. Since Meher Baba has declared that his manifestation will be the greatest in this cycle of time, cycle of cycles, we can surmise that Mehera's love for Baba too was the greatest of anyone at any time previously for the avatar. Her role as his chief woman disciple was much more prominent than in previous advents and reflected in the world at large. Witness the expanded role of women in modern times. Mehera, the eternal child. Mehera, the paragon of womanhood. Mehera, the only one who had the... No, you need to bring it down a little.
It's right here.
Right, oh yeah. Okay, Mehera, the eternal child. Mehera, the paragon of womanhood. Mehera, the only one who had the courage to sacrifice every shred of self at the altar of the beloved's feet. Who else told him absolutely everything? Baba once explained, when this power to love has reached its perfected state without any thought of self, then you will experience a happiness beyond anything you have as yet experienced. This is union, love for the beloved, free from self. Though she claimed no spiritual advancement or enlightenment, Mehera will be worshipped in times to come because of the quality and depth of her love for the avatar. The story of their divine romance is perhaps more relevant to us as seekers of God than any other aspect of the avatar's life on earth, because it provides us with a tangible example of how the beloved wanted to and should be loved. Mehra's love for Meher Baba was unique. After reading Mehera-Meher, I hope readers will understand why.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
It's beautiful, yeah.
And
I've
there's the
never read
picture
it.
of Baba,
I love that
Lord of
picture.
love, King of three worlds, my beloved who dwells in every heart.
So
Mara
Mehra,
wrote this
Mehra
message.
wrote that, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
under a photograph
yeah,
of Baba
wow.
in
Because after a
1934.
time, she wasn't allowed to write.
Mm. Well,
Wow.
um,
As pilgrims climb Mehrabad Hill in the bright, crisp sunlight of February 1st, 1969, the only sound they hear is a wailing above the wind. It is Mehra. Her cries of anguish echo their own. The death of anyone dear leaves a gaping hole in the heart. But the physical separation of Mehra from her beloved left in her a bottomless chasm of loneliness. Her heart was not her own, but belonged solely to her Lord. Now, with the dropping of his physical form, an abyss of bleak despair stretched before her. What could her life hold without the smile of her beloved? But gradually, as the years passed, Mehra's weeping abated as she filled the emptiness with memories of her darling Baba. These are some fragments of her heart's recollection, the story of her heart. Wow.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see. Okay,
I
so
was.
Deb, would you like to read The White Horse, part one?
Yes, I would.
Let's
Chapter 1.
I'm just going to get it on the screen for everybody. There's a picture of Mara's parents, um, who were a very nice looking couple.
Yeah.
And this is a special child.
It is October 1902. At the Zoroastrian Fire Temple in Pune, India, a wedding is being held, arranged by two local Irani families. The groom is Jahangir Humasji Irani, tall, handsome, and 32 years old. His bride is considered one of the prettiest young women in Pune. Her name is Dalat Sarab Irani. She is only 19. The wedding is an old-fashioned Iranian affair. The bride has a ritual bath and puts on a new sadra, thin shirt, sari, and gold wedding ornaments. Both bride and groom are dressed in white with garlands of flowers around their neck. When everyone has assembled inside a large hall in the fire temple, 7 bearded elders enter with lit candles, encircle the bride, and ask whether she, of her own volition, wants to marry this man. They repeat the question 3 times, and if the answers are all affirmative, the elders shout their assent and lift their candles high in celebration of the union. Jahangir and Dalat are destined to be the parents of a very special child, but 2 other children are born first. A girl born in Pune in David Sassoon Hospital on 14 November 1903 is named Piraji. Later, when the family comes in contact with the avatar, Meher Baba, she will be renamed Franey in honor of one of Baba's own sisters who died as a young girl. Before marrying Dalat, Jahangir had joined the Indian Civil Service as a forest ranger and had been posted first to Satara and then to Mahabaleshwar, both near Pune. Receiving a promotion, he became a divisional forest officer and then a chief forest officer, a high-ranking and well-paying position, almost always filled by a Britisher. After the birth of Paroja, he is sent to Sukar in the Sindh region of northwest India, and there, around June 1905, Dalat's second child, a boy, is born. Jahangir is delighted to have a son whom they name Persat. 9 months pass, and Dalat again is expecting. Sukar is somewhat cold in the early mornings of February 7, January 1907. Dalat is lying on a comfortable bed in a large government bungalow on the outskirts of town. Her husband is sleeping next to her. She wakes him and asks him to fetch the midwife in their horse-drawn carriage. Jahangir leaves, but before he can return, the baby is born, another girl who is named Mehera. Later, Riley, Mehera would relate, "My whole life I've done things slowly. Only once when I was born did I do things in a hurry. I appeared before the midwife could come help my mother."
Oops.
You want to read the sidebar?
Yeah. Mehera's school certificate says she was born on 4 January 1907. Her birth date is listed on both her passports as 1 January, but on her tomb is written 7 January.
Oh, okay. I think we have Ralph and Marilyn here. Would either of you like to read a page?
Okay. Let's see, where are we? The Indus Valley?
Yes.
I'll try for that. The Indus Valley, where Sukar is located, now in Pakistan, is considered the birthplace of civilization here. Mehera, destined to be the beloved of the God-man, was born at home to an upper middle class Irani family in British India. And there's an asterisk. Do I read that?
Yeah.
The Avatar himself was then a schoolboy studying at the Camp English School in Pune, 1,000 miles away. How curious that Baba was 13 years old when I was born, Mehera observed, and he was God realized, kissed by Babajan in 1913. It was customary in those days amongst the Zoroastrian community, though more so for the Parsis than the Iranis, for the parents to have a horoscope prepared for any, someone has to mute, for any new addition to their family. However, according to Mehera, my parents were not so old-fashioned that they had a horoscope done for me when I was born. None was done for my sister or brother either. They never gave much importance to it. Paroja, Mehera's older sister, is 3. What?
I cannot hear at all.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Is this Marilyn?
Yes.
Is Marilyn recording?
Well, I hear her fine, Ralph.
I hear her fine.
Well,
But,
You're
but
breaking
your
up
voice
now.
is distorted. It's distorting.
Yeah, I think you should go out and come back in or refresh
Yeah.
the page.
Okay.
Where were we?
Paroja, Mera's older sister is 3. Her brother Kursap is 1.5, and both children are excited to have an adorable baby sister. As an infant, so Dalat would tell her, Mera was fond of pulling her mother's ears, and she suckled her thumb till she was 2. She was always healthy and never had her tonsils removed in childhood or later. And there's a asterisk. It says Baba too never had his tonsils removed.
Hmm.
But just 11 months after Mera is born, Kursap becomes ill and dies. He is buried in Sukkar, and Dalet and Jehangir are heartbroken over the death of their only son. The name Sukkar means sugar, perhaps due to the rocky, white, sandy soil indigenous to the area. It has a hot, dry, desert-like climate. It never rains, and there are few trees and no gardens. However, near the family's house, built on a broad, flat hillock with a wide road winding up to it, was a small ravine where a few tall trees and flower bushes grew. It was green and cool, and Mera and her sister often played there. As a child, I loved trees and plants and the garden, Mera recalled. I used to go to the ravine along and roam about. You had to go down the hill to get to it. It was a lovely spot far away from the house. From one of the trees, Jehangir hung a swing for his children. The town had many separate bungalows spread out from each other, and in general was a clean and agreeable place. They lived in a government bungalow, which in those days meant a large, sprawling estate. A tennis court was in the backyard, although it was never used. As a government employee, Jehangir was given free accommodations. Their house had decorative lace curtains and an elaborate Victorian furniture, as well as a retinue of servants, all supplied by the government. A 20-year-old Muslim butler, a 20-year-old Muslim butler named Kasim taught the children a bit of Urdu. And there was a Goanese Christian cook, 2 liveried sepoys. Is that how you say that word?
I don't know what it is.
Let's
Does
see.
anyone know? I'll Google it.
Okay, sat vigilantly on the front veranda, waiting for their master's summons. They must, okay, but Dalet instructed them not to come inside or loiter near the private family quarters of the house. Before the First World War, India had hardly any automobiles, but every family of good standing had its own horse and carriage. Mera's family had a 4-wheeled red Victoria pulled by a large gray-white horse. In the evenings, they went for a ride, or a servant took the children for a walk.
By the way, I Googled sepoy. It's pronounced sepoy. And it's a member of the Indian militia.
Oh, wow. Okay. So they were waiting for their orders.
Yeah, it has a picture here of somebody from the Mughal Empire. Anyway, we don't have to go down that road. Um, Ralph, do you want to try to read? I don't know if he's still with us. Let's see
No,
who's.
I'm driving. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you're
I'm
driving?
driving. Yeah, I'm sorry. Can't read.
That's okay. That's fine. Maybe that's why you're having reception problems. Um, so I can pick up. Sometimes as they walked along the road in the evening. Can you mute Ralph? I'm going to have to mute him.
Mute.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes as they walked along the road in the evening, they would meet other children out with their ayahs, nursemaid. One girl, Mara's age, from a wealthy Sindhi family, would chat with her as they walked beside a pram with a friend's sibling inside. One day, the girl fell ill. Her parents phoned Daulat and Jehangir that evening, asking them to send Mara to their house because their daughter was asking for her. She wants to see her, the mother said. She wants Mara near her. Mara was taken to the house and stood near the child's bed, holding her hand. Though Mara was bashful in strange surroundings, she spoke with the child and who cheered up and soon recovered. When Mara was 3 and her sister Paroja turned 6, when Mara was 3, her sister Paroja turned 6 and was sent to Pune for her education. She entered the convent of Jesus and Mary School on 13th June 1910. Staying with her maternal aunt Khorshid Rustam Irani, Mara remained at home with her parents in Sukar, the only child except when Paroja returned home for the holidays. I'm not sure when this sidebar comes in, but anyway. Um, many Europeans, government officials, and army officers were stationed in Sukkur, and their lives were examples of English sahibs and mem sahibs in the pre war days of British India. They had an exclusively European club with a large indoor skating rink, and each evening a band played while the members roller skated on the shining wooden floor. Mara often went there and watched, fascinated, as the men and women held each other, skating round and round. Jehangir liked to go out most evenings to the cinema, for example, or to the gymkhana, where men played tennis and badminton, and the women played cards and gossiped. Often he took his wife to the Sukur club for dinner and cards. At other times he went alone. Jehangir was always dressed in stylish British clothes and mingled freely with Westerners. He spoke perfect English, and since he was fond of entertaining Europeans, often dined at their house. Although Dalit was not fluent in English, she could understand it and speak broken English if she had to. She and Jehangir spoke Gujarati at home to each other and to the children. Sometimes, when Jehangir entertained Westerners at their home, Dalit wore an elegant sari, but only on rare occasions. Likewise, she was not particular about what kind of food she ate. My mother was very simple in her ways, Amara said. She had nice big eyes and a lovely expression. I was closer to her than to my father. My sister was closer to our father. Father also loved her more, though he also loved me. Uh, Mara was more attached to our mother, confirmed Paroja. I to our father. However, from her father, Mehera did inherit the tendency to appreciate good food and fine clothing. Even though she did not have a big appetite from the very first, I always liked good things to eat and good clothes to wear. 6 feet 3 inches tall, wheatish and complexioned, with broad shoulders and a solid build. Jehangir was strong, muscular, and athletic. I need to read this sidebar. Paroja already had studied 3 books in Gujarati, but now she was to attend an English medium school. All subjects were taught in English. Mehera, too, was taken to Pune several times in her infancy to see her grandparents. I could just finish this. Uh, so, my father never stooped, but always stood straight, Mehera recalled. He was so tall, he had to duck through doors. My mother was on the small side like me. We were alike in looks as well as nature. Mehera grew to 5 feet 3 inches, the same as her mother. Eugene, would you like to pick up?
Jahangir was of music. And Mehera remembered a time when she was around 4, sitting on a carpet with her toys, wooden blocks with pictures on the sides and dolls in lovely dresses. Her father learned to play the sitar. A Hindu ustad, that's a teacher, came to their house twice a week to give Jahangir lessons. The teacher was a gullible fellow, and Jahangir, who had a lively, fun-loving nature, sometimes played tricks on him. Once, when everyone was seated outside on the veranda in the evening, Jahangir slipped away, climbed onto the roof, and dropped a large pumpkin next to him. The pumpkin exploded, and the teacher leapt out of his chair in fright.
Ah, the pumpkin
Another time,
exploded.
when the teacher came for dinner,
We don't hear you, Gene.
It was like an explosion, I'm sure. A pumpkin. Wow.
But I don't
explained, the bearer explained, "Sir, there are special prunes being prepared for you." The teacher beamed with pleasure. A separate plate of prunes was brought and set before him. When he tried to cut them with his spoon, they slipped in his dish. He put one in his mouth to taste it, and Jahangir burst out laughing. The special prunes were bars of Pier's soap, cut to look like prunes. Fortunately, the teacher was a good sport and took it all in a jovial way. Jahangir brought home phonograph records, also brought home phonograph records. In those days, customers were allowed to take home a selection of records from the shop, listen to them, and then choose which ones they wanted to keep. Mehera remembered her father seated on the carpet, the records spread out around him, while he listened and selected his favorites. Like Meher Baba, he liked qawwalis, or spiritual love songs, the best. But he also enjoyed humorous and sometimes ribald songs from the Bombay Gujarati theater. For the girls, he bought still amusing children's records.
Eugene, are you there?
Jahangir even had a record case built with slots to hold his collection and a place in the middle where the gramophone fit. When the family went out on a tour of his assigned territory, they took the case with them. After working all day in the sun, he liked to relax in the evenings by listening to music. Once during the summer, when Mehera was 3 years old, he and family went to Quetta, a city about 250 miles to the northwest. It was wintering there, and though they did not stay long, several photos were taken at the photographic studio of El Mullick on Bruce Road. One of the family together and one of Mehera and Perosia alone. A few years later, the family went to Lahore, or Lahore,
No, Lahore.
for a holiday. Lahore, thank you. Mehera enjoyed the trip. The city was pleasant, and she recalled the well-stocked shops along the mall, the main boulevard, and the many Europeans there. Jahangir also liked excursions to places of interest in the Sukur area. 5 miles outside the city was a lovely rambling garden where people, Tina, there's a sub-menu in the way.
A what?
A menu. You accidentally clicked a button and a menu came on. Thank you.
Okay.
So-
let me fix it.
You did. You just fixed it. 5 miles outside the city
Is it okay now?
was a lovely rambling garden. Yeah, it's fine. It's good. Thank you. A lovely rambling garden where people went to walk in the shade of tall toddy palms. Toddy, a slightly fermented drink extracted from the palm, was sold there. Jahangir often brought his family to this spot in their Victoria toddy party. Toddy party. Hardy. My mother was fond of these things, said Mehera, to drink toddy and eat, to sing songs.
I'm sorry.
You just popped up another menu.
Yeah.
My father was fond of these things, said Mehera, to drink toddy and eat, to sing songs. He loved to give others a good time. That kind of fella. Whenever any guests, such as Jahangir's brothers and their families, or other close friends came to Sukur for a few days, Jahangir invariably took them sightseeing to the island of Sadbella, located in the middle of the Indus River, the broadest and shortest in India. Sadbella is a small, picturesque island inhabited by peacocks and monkeys who roam about the tall trees. The island is a wildlife preserve on which had been built a temple and monastery of Sri Sadbella, a Hindu saint. Everyone rode in their private carriages to the banks of the river, where they hired ferry boats. As children, we found it all very exciting, Mehera remembered. Everyone got inside the boats and was rowed to the island. We had picnic baskets with us. People, in a reverent atmosphere with incense burning, visitors had to remove their shoes before stepping onto the decorative carpet inside. In the central room, steps led down to the river. On the walls hung a double row of portraits of saints and perfect masters. The group ambled about, examining the pictures with a local guide. Mehera remembered Jahangir giving money to the guide to feed the fish. It was a beautiful sight. Big shining silver fish would actually jump up on the steps for something to eat. 2 fish had gold nose rings. The party ate their lunch and returned, rowing back across the river, everyone enjoying the outing. Jahangir of all. Mehera felt that inwardly, unknowingly, her father had some connection with Meher Baba. That is why he was so fond of taking people to Sadbella. His natural, he said, his natural inclination was that way, spiritual. He was very proud to take all his guests there, and on another outing to show them Muhammad's hair. Muhammad's hair is preserved in a mosque in Sukur, and Jahangir arranged to view it. The mosque, known as the shrine of Var Mubarak Shah, was small, well maintained, and located in a quiet section of town near the Rohri railway station. Inside the special room where the hair is preserved was a shining silk-covered divan. Because of Muhammad's strictures against representational portraiture, only framed kalams, those are calligraphed couplets from the Quran, hung on the walls. When the group stepped inside, Jahangir told the priests that they wished. Jahangir told the priests that they wished to see Muhammad Sahib's hair. The priests, delighted that persons of another faith had come to pay their respect to the hair of the prophet, began murmuring prayers. One of them fetched incense sticks. Another brought a regal silk fan decorated with frills attached to the end of a long pole. The guests stood nearby. The chief priest went to an airtight cupboard built with strong, thick planks of wood. With great reverence, he removed a large box. The other priest fanned continually to prevent dust from alighting. The first priest, reciting a prayer, placed the box on the divan. When he opened it, all peered inside at yet another box. Continuing his chant, the priest took this one out, opened it, and removed yet another box and another box, boxes within boxes. In the end, a tiny wooden box held a lock of very dark hair. The priest showed it to all before putting it back in its box. The visitors were not permitted to touch it. Some believe that the hair preserved in Sukur may be for the beard of Prophet Muhammad. But Mehera herself never something or other. Jahangir later explained that the purpose of so many boxes was to preserve the hair in the hot, arid climate of Sukur by keeping it properly cool. How ironic it was, Mehera observed, that I went to see Muhammad's hair as a child. I did not know that one day I would be combing the avatar's hair. So Mehera herself never mentioned this thing about Prophet Muhammad's hair. Remembering this experience, Mehera collected. Never mentioned that the hair might have been from of the prophet. Remembering this experience, Mehera collected it and preserved Baba's hair with devoted reverence. And when she later gave it to his lovers, she always instructed them to treasure it as well. Here's a good spot to pass the baton to Deb or
Okay, Deb.
Rosalie.
One of you want to pick up? We're almost out of time, but we have a few more.
What page is that?
I don't know. 8.
Yeah, 8. Shall I read?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When Jahangir was transferred from Sukar to another district, the family had to make a journey of several days through the forest to Jahangir's new posting. Mehera, who had once been on an elephant at a circus, had the opportunity to ride another strange beast. Traveling in the forest was done by camel, since the area was too sandy to use horses. The government provided 15 or 20 camels, along with an equal number of bearded Sindhis
I guess
to
so.
look after them. The pack camels loaded with furniture, kitchen utensils, tents, and provisions started each day with a few hours before the family did so. The camp would be ready when they arrived. In addition, when the terrain allowed, several horsemen rode along as escorts. On the day of their departure, Jahangir was dressed in a khaki uniform with breeches and riding boots. The entire party, including little Mehera, wore solar topis, cork hats. 2 camels were provided for the family to ride and were brought to the front of their house. For Mehera's mother, there was a quiet, sweet-natured female. The other, for her father, was a giant beast, off-white in color, well-fed and powerful. 2 Sindhis restrained the animal from either side and made it kneel. To a 4-year-old child, the camel's mouth, teeth, and tongue seemed enormous, and what a sound it made. Mehera recalled, I backed away from it and stood transfixed, never imagining it was the same animal I was about to ride.
Okay, I think we'll stop there. We're up to page 9. But thank you all for coming. I hope I'll see you next week.
So happy you continued it. Wow.
Yeah, we're starting over. It's always good to read it again because we don't remember all these stories.
Well, I don't think we read the introduction and things.
Maybe not. Well, I'm
I
glad.
And thanks for turning the pages,